Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. First off, you may notice a few things. First off, I'm wearing my glasses in a video for the first time in years. I don't know, I just felt like it. Didn't take them off this morning. Usually I don't wear them because usually the reflection shines, but it's okay, whatever. I didn't feel like taking them off. Second, there's more lighting now. I have my curtain open and it's during the daytime, which means you can see my face, which is pretty cool. But that's beside the point. Today, I wanted to speak on a school that I've grown affectionate for over the years, which makes this sound a little bit weird, but I wanted to talk about the ice school. Now, I've done videos in the past on the myth school. I think I've actually talked about the ice school before, but it was a very long time ago. I wanted to make an updated video on talking about just how broken Kingsisle has made the ice school over the last few years, because when I made the video last, it was probably like a while ago, and it was just when ice was kind of turning from a pretty garbage tier school to probably one of the best schools in the game. So I kind of wanted to talk about that, talk about their transformation, how it happened, why it happened. It's a little bit weird that Kingsisle made ice broken, but I figured it was worth talking about. As you can see here, I'm on an ice. I started this wizard like a week ago. Decided to quest up with my friend a little bit. We're in Marleybone. We got there in one day. We'll probably quest again in the future, but I've been having a lot of fun. So without further ado, let's get into it. First off, I want to talk about the ice school, its identity, and kind of what it used to be, because that's important for knowing just how broken it is now. Ice is a school that has one thing in mind, and that is tanking. What this means in an MMO, if you somehow don't know, is that you are very defensive as a school. Specifically in this instance, Ice is tanky because they have more resist than any other school, and they also have more health than any other school. And this has kind of always been the case. For the longest time, Ice has had, at the very least, the most health and resist in the game. It's been competed with a little bit by Life, but I would say consistently Ice is coming out slightly above Life. Now, this comes with a few drawbacks. First off, there's very low damage. Ice, if you didn't know, has abysmal damage for the first two arcs in the game if you've never played it. On top of that, they don't get their blade until level 38, which is the latest of any school in the game. I believe the only one that can compete with that is Life, which gets their blade at level 22, I believe, from the trainer in Colossus Boulevard. Maybe it's not 22. Maybe that's just all the dispels. Maybe Life gets it earlier. Unless I'm misremembering. I could be misremembering and it's Life Trap that I'm thinking of, but that's beside the point. I digress. We're talking about Ice this video, not Life. I don't need to get all my facts right. On top of that, Ice has the lowest base damage on cards in the game. All of their spells have a lower base damage significantly compared to every other school, and this has been the case for the longest time. Frost Giant only had like 480 base damage up until recently, which is a little crazy because that's low for a 7-pip AoE. Like Orthrus, for example, does 700. Fire Dragon does like 500 plus overtime. You get my point. It's a big drop off from all the other schools to Ice. Now, these base statistics for the longest time have been very, very prevalent in Ice. Heck, even up to Darkmoor gear, Ice has low damage, high resist, high health, and that's just kind of how it is. If you're an Ice Wizard, you're not hitting in the game. As an example, Waterworks gear, which is probably the first power spike in this game, I would say level 60, it really improves every school. All the other schools' gear gives around 50 damage. Some exceptions like Storm, I believe, gives around 70 damage, which is a lot. Obviously, it's Storm. But Ice's only gives 30 damage, which I want you to know, when I say every other school gives around 50, I mean every other school. Like Life, Balance, Myth, all of those also get around 50, except Ice, which when I say it gives 30, I'm not exaggerating. I believe it's like 32 if I'm to be exact, which is just abysmal. Like even with the Skyron Hasta, you're only getting up to 40 damage maybe, plus a pet. If for some reason as a Ice you have a quintuple pet, which you shouldn't, you should have a triple double, but if you even have a quintuple, you're still only going to get up to 70 damage, which is not good. Like Storm can get up to 70 damage at level 30. And obviously that'll continue all the way to Darkmoor, where I believe as an Ice, you can just barely cross the 100 mark if you have a good pet. I think usually you get around 90. So your damage is bad. Like compare that to the other schools, like Storm can get up to 140. Most other schools can get to the 120 range. Ice is left behind. So keep that in mind when we're starting the second part of this video. How did Kingsisle break Ice? Because this is really important to kind of how the game is right now, where I think Ice is the second best PvE school in the game. Well, to really look at it, we need to go back to level 130, the Catacombs, which I believe came out 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, I don't know, give or take a little bit. With the Catacombs, they released the Dragoon gear, and with the Dragoon gear, a lot of things in this game changed, because the Dragoon gear spiked every school's damage from that 130 mark, the 100 to 130 mark, to 170 to 200, which is a huge jump, especially for only being 30 levels. Like, that's insane. And when I say every school, I mean every school. All of a sudden, Ice, for the first time ever, they went from like 100 damage to 160, 170 damage, which is a crazy jump. That's insane. That's not even counting the fact that modern day, with the Reaver gear and the best gear setup you can get on Ice, you can get it up to 200% damage, which I'm gonna flat out say 200% damage is enough to handle literally any boss in this game for any school. In Ice, which has the lowest base damage spells, 200% damage can easily hit in any battle in this game. They might not be the most effective at it, but they can certainly do it. Compare that to Arc 1 and 2 and back in the old days with Ice. Ice wasn't even an option to hit. If you were in Ice and you wanted to hit, people would laugh at you and bully you because Ice could not hit. They only had like that 40-50 damage, and their base damage on spells was just as bad. So if you're in Ice, you can't even kill anything. Like you just don't hit. You don't even bother trying because it's so bad. Well, again, they changed this, and you may be asking, well, what's the repercussions of this? Surely, if you can get up to 200 damage on that Ice, surely there's some, trade-off in the negative direction. No, you can get up very easily up to 200 damage and still have 90% resist. Like, I'm not kidding. You can get up to that 80 to 90% range, which is crazy good. Like 80-90% in this game is going to be negating most damage. That's not to mention, you can actually become immune on Ice. You can get 100% in every category. In the trade-off, you still get like 160 damage. Now, looking back on it, what were the main characteristics of Ice? They were a tank. They had a lot of resist, a lot of health, low damage. Well, now they have good damage, high resist, and the most amount of health in the game still, I believe. I believe you can get up to like 16 to 17,000 health on an Ice, which is crazy amounts of health for this game. Like, I remember back on the day, you'd only get up to like 6,000-7,000 on the best Wizard, right? Like back in 2014. So it's really changed a lot. So with these changes, Ice, in my opinion, has effectively become the second best school in the game. The only reason why it's beaten by Death is because of the healbacks, and also Death can get similar levels of stats if they wanted to. I saw a Reddit post the other day with a Death that had like 80 to 85% resist while also having 200 damage. It's insane what the setups are nowadays in PvE. They're way too good. But I'd be remiss to not mention the fact that not just the gear has changed, because Ice has been buffed in other ways. For example, recently they buffed Frost Giant. I don't remember exactly how much damage it does now, but it does way more damage than it used to. I remember back in the day, again, it did like 400 to 480. I believe now it does 5 something. Let me look it up. I'm gonna look it up. Nowadays it does 570, which is still the lowest base damage of a 7-pip AoE, but compare that to years ago when it had like that 400, 450 range, and then on top of the absolutely abysmal damage, nowadays 570 plus that enchant plus the 200% damage, Ice is looking pretty good. So the conclusion of this video and kind of what I wanted to talk about, I know I highlighted it a lot, but I want to talk about the fact that Ice right now is broken, because, and this is larger than just Ice as a whole, Kingsisle kind of broke every school over their knee a few years ago when they introduced Dragoon gear, because every school can now get up to an insane amount of damage. But Ice specifically has kind of had its identity removed, and now they're crazy because not only do they have that resist tankiness, they also have an insane amount of damage. So I wanted to highlight that this video, and really I want to kind of bring attention to the fact that in this game right now, in PvE, balancing is a little busted, and it's really hard to fix. I've made videos on it in the past, but right now, if Kingsisle wants to fix PvE and fix the school balancing, they kind of have to nerf schools, and nerfing is very hard to do because all of a sudden you're going to have an entire community up in arms if you suddenly remove like 70 damage from ice, right? And same with the other schools. You're going to find a lot of people getting really angry despite the fact that ice shouldn't be as powerful as they are right now. So I would really like to see if Kingsisle in the next update kind of tones it back a bit, like with the next gear set, and makes other schools have more damage and kind of keep ice around where they are right now. Like how it should go, in my opinion, ice should have the lowest damage, life should have the second lowest, then balance, and then we kind of get to the other schools, the hitting schools, followed by, you know, storm at the top. That's how it should be, and that's how it always should have been, and that's how it was for Arc 1 and 2, but really in Arc 3 and 4, they've changed that, and they've kind of, I've talked about removing school identities in the game before, but really, I think that this kind of broke ice. It made ice into something that it's not. It can just be an all-around really good school because of that resist they can get on top of the damage. So I'd like to see Kingsisle kind of reel it back, change ice so they're not as broken. I'd like to hear your opinions in the comments below. Like, do you think that this is a problem? I'm sure most of you probably haven't even considered it. Most of you are probably like, yay, funny number, ice. But I think that part of the reason why Wizard101 has gotten so stale recently, and the reason why PvE content feels stale, is that every school provides no difference to the other schools. They all have a similar challenge level, that being absolutely none, because every school right now's stats are broken. Ice shouldn't be able to get through the game as easily as they do, but they can, because in Arc 3 and 4, they're broken right now. That's it for today. I wanted to make this shorter video on kind of why I think Kingsisle broke ice. I have another video in the works soon, so be prepared for that. It kind of involves ice in a weird way, but it also involves myth. Try to see if you can figure it out from that. If not, that's fine. You'll figure out in a few days anyway. But that's it for today. Make sure to drop a like, hit the sub button, and also hit the join button if you want to support me with a little bit of money. You don't have to, but a little bit goes a long way. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a fantastic day.